Well, I think this is going to be our avatar content for a while. Better get used to it. Oh man, life is so beautiful. Hi everyone, I'm Pedro Luferson, and yep, today we're talking about Aang, the Last Airbender. This is not going to be a movie review. In a nutshell, I really liked the movie. There are things that I absolutely love, there are things that I didn't like that much, and I know that movie isn't perfect and that's okay, but anyways, this is not the topic of this video. The topic for this video is how this movie connects so many different parts of this universe. I'm talking about the OG TV show, Korra, the books, and even the comics, and Seven Havens, the new TV show. But how on earth would this movie connect the OG TV show with Korra and Seven Havens at the same time? Because Seven Havens hasn't even come out yet. At least not at the time that I'm recording this video. I don't know when you guys are watching this video, Seven Havens can be out by now. But anyways, the thing is, this movie exists in a very particular spot, both in the universe that the story takes place, but also in our world that is about to receive Seven Havens. And the thing that I've noticed is that the movie connects everything but visually. It uses visual cues, languages, and the context to become the perfect bridge between everything. But let's take it easy and start with the obvious, the connection between the time of Aang and the time of Korra. Over time, I've heard some complaints about the advance of technology and architecture from Aang to Korra, which honestly for me it's nuts. We already have pretty advanced vehicles created by the Fire Nation to fight the war, but in Korra they are just more common and accessible to people. But about the architecture, I understand why people can find the skyscrapers a bit shocking. But seeing the population density and the fact that the Republic City became a cultural and innovative focal point in this world, this was expected. And we see how the Unity Tower actually embodies the beginning of this change as the tallest building in the city, but still with slightly diagonal lines and larger bottom to soften its silhouette in comparison to the very straight and sharp buildings we see in Korra. Not to mention all the Korra lore that was brought to this movie, such as the lion turtles and the deeper exploration of the use of spiritual energy. And I risk to say, everything involving the spirit world. If you take a closer look at one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie, the one with the ocean spirit, he opens a portal so the gang can get into the spirit world physically, which he kind of already did in the past but we didn't know it. We found out in the book 2 of Korra that at the end of book 1 from Aang, the ocean spirit actually grabs Giles and takes him to the spirit world to be forever in the fog of lost souls, already hinting his ability to open portals. And in the Avatar Yang Chen books, which are canon, therefore 100% relevant to this discussion, Yang Chen was able to open a portal herself because she meditated in the presence of the ocean and moon spirit. And she actually uses this portal to access the fog of lost souls too, so maybe the spirit has a preference. So we even have a direct connection with the books here. Back to the movie, we interact with this very psychedelic spirit. He's all weird, colorful, and crazy, which could have been a good introduction to how the spirits in Korra behave. In the original TV show, we have just a couple of scenes actually in the spirit world, and most of them are yellow, foggy, mysterious, and not a lot going on. But Korra couldn't be more different. Everything is colorful, vibrant, psychedelic, and completely crazy, which I honestly don't mind. I actually kind of enjoy the spirit world in Korra, but the thing is, it's such a big leap from what Aang established, even though there are very few scenes. It's a big leap from yellow and mysterious to colorful and open and crazy. But had we had a more punctual contact with them, such as this movie, the transition to book 2 of Korra could have been much more smoother. If new fans watch this movie after finishing the classic TV show, then they watch Korra, I feel like it would be a much more smooth transition to the new world that Korra shows. Even in episode 1 of Korra, I can picture now Republic City with different eyes because I just watched the movie and now I have weirdly a feeling of familiarity with it that I didn't have before, obviously, because now I see how it was built, so it's different, but it's a good different. It makes Korra more complete in a way. But I'm not here to trash on Korra. Korra is an amazing TV show and I will die on that hill. It is perfect? No, but I love it and I will defend it with all my heart. But come on, being a movie in the middle of the way between Korra and Aang, the connection makes perfect sense. But what the hell does it have to do with Seven Havens, and how does this movie connect Seven Havens and Korra and Aang and the books all together? That doesn't make any sense. Right? Well, wrong, but I'll explain everything to you. In a weird way, everything boils down to Pavi's ethnicity. It has been announced that Pavi's ethnicity has a South Asian inspiration, more specifically Indian. Pavi is a name of Indian origin, and if we talk about physical characteristics, Pavi clearly has a darker skin tone. Ethnically speaking, most characters from Avatar are inspired by native North Americans, East Asians, and Southeast Asians, so apparently Pavi is kind of quote-unquote introducing a new ethnicity to the lore. Well, it might look like that, but that isn't true. You see, the Earth Kingdom is huge, and the diversity of people there is incomparable to anywhere else in this world. We technically have never explored the whole continent, so we can speculate that Pavi's origins could have been just there all the time. We, as an audience, had just never been there. Besides, there are other human-populated places that aren't part of the Four Nations, like the Kyoshi Island that became independent from the Earth Kingdom and now it's its own thing, or the South Islands from the Yang-chan novels that were never part of the Fire Nation but were incorporated afterwards. The people that were never culturally attached to the Fire Nation or the Fire Lord, but then they suddenly became a part of it because of colonization and domination. They didn't even have any banding or bending tradition, they were just there, living their lives, separated from big political movements like a kingdom or a war. Sometimes people just lived distant from the main governments, like the waterbenders from the swamp who were neither Water Tribe nor Earth Kingdom. But how on earth the move fits into all this South Asian inclusion? But first, I should be very clear. Skin tone obviously doesn't automatically mean that someone is or isn't part of a certain ethnic group. Ethnic and racial identities are much more complex and full of nuances than simply physical appearance alone. For the sake of this discussion and this discussion alone about this fake universe, we will be comparing physical characteristics among characters, the cultural origin of their names and their clothes in a comparison to the other characters around them, and their real-world inspirations. I'm neither Asian nor an anthropologist. And if you are either of those things, I would love to read your opinion down below in the comments. Closer to the end of the movie, when Aang is having his moment of clarity, we see some airbenders with much darker skin tones, suggesting that there has always been an element of diversity in this nation alone. During flashbacks, we only have visited 2 air temples for 2 very quick scenes, not to mention that since they are nomads, they can be having kids with people from everywhere in the world and have kids with any kind of combination of ethnicities. Sonam's temple, we could argue, feels like it takes inspiration from ancient Hindu temples, with a more detailed and elaborate structure, very distinctly separating it from the air temples we know. And Sonam herself has a darker skin tone, just like Taga. She uses golden jewelry and has tattoos that have a much more intricate pattern, a bit separated from the simplicity and modesty of the Nepali monk inspirations we see in the air nomads closer to the time of the genocide. Not to mention that whenever we have a Sonam flashback, we hear chanting that is almost the same as the one we hear in the beginning of the trailer for Seven Havens. We can assume that part of these cultural aspects were lost when Jarana was abandoned, Sonam died, and her temple was sent to the spirit world. Not to mention that it happened 5,000 years ago, so the time organically changed the air nomad culture. And when I was writing the script for this video, I was almost completely oblivious to the fact that we actually have already been introduced to characters who are South Asian / Indian inspired, including a very important example from the classic original TV show. And I'm talking about Guru Patik, who not only has a darker skin color, but his name has a South Asian and more specifically Indian origin. We also have this kid from the episode Serpent's Past, but we don't know anything about him like his name to trace a source of inspiration, so I don't know where he fits in this whole theory, but I just wanted to mention him. And even if we jump to Korra, there's this guy in season 2 at Varric's meeting. He appears only once in the whole show. He's Varric's personal levitation instructor and his name is Swanee, which is, you guessed it, a South Asian, more specifically Indian name. And the last example is, in the Korra comics, the Turf Wars trilogy, we have Jargala Omo, an earthbender with clear Indian inspirations. And I mean, she's clearly wearing a sari. Hold on! I was gathering the stills from the movie to put them on the video and I realized something. During Avatar Sonam's flashback, we see a group of airbenders from the past trying to stop a fight. Nothing much about that, but then I realized. These benders on the right, they are sun warriors. I mean, they look like sun warriors, I'm not crazy, right? We got the pants, the fabric as a belt, the lack of shirt, the shoulder piece, and the hair? I don't know about you guys, but this movie just got a little better. Okay, let's go back. The sheer existence of this movie introduced us to a lost culture of airbenders, and it helped us remember the existence of a whole ethnic group that has always been there, just never in the spotlight. This movie, that again isn't perfect, holds the hands of everything of this universe and says, guys, let's all be together. And I love it for that. I love that in this universe new things connect to older ones all the time. But don't you dare let me wear this tinfoil hat alone. Comment down below what you think of all of this. Like, hype, share and subscribe to not miss out when I talk about 7 heavies in a couple of months. I'd love to know your opinions down below and see you guys in the next video. Bye!